Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. If you're thinking about learning French, or maybe you have already been learning French for a few months now, this video is going to be for you. Because you might have a few questions in your mind like where should I start, how should I go about it, would it really be possible for me to reach intermediate level in 6 months, what are the resources I should be using, should I take grammar classes, if yes, which institute should I join, or should I take private classes? So in this video, I'm going to answer all of these questions. So in a nutshell, I'm going to talk about few things that you absolutely need to do if you want to reach intermediate level in 6 months. So without a further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first step is basically to decide where to start. So it really depends on your objective. If you're planning to travel to France, for example, in a few months, and you want to have a basic communication level in French so that you are able to order in a restaurant or you are able to speak to local people in general, then you need very basic communicative French, and for that you can probably take private classes with a teacher on italki, on SuperProf and platforms like these. But if you're planning to take a French exam, which is like DELF, DALF, TEF and TCF, then you should first focus on grammar. I know it doesn't sound very exciting and grammar is boring for most people, including myself, but we don't have any other option. If you want to learn a new language, you have to learn the rules. Now, where should you take grammar classes also depends on many factors. Are you able to invest a couple of years? Then you should definitely go for classes with Alliance Française. Even if you have just 1 year before you want to take the exam, you can consider taking classes with Alliance Française. They offer even online classes now, and you can consider taking their intensive course. But with their intensive course also, you would have to spend at least 1 year, I think, before you can reach B1 level. So do your research and see how long will you have to spend before you can reach B2 level if you want to take classes with Alliance Française. There are some other institutes also which offer online classes, but you have to consider some factors like most of them offer recorded classes, and then you don't really feel that there is enough motivation or enough push to follow those courses on a daily basis. You don't have fellow students to study with, you don't have a teacher to ask your questions, right? Because those are recorded sessions. So if you are somebody who needs some kind of motivation, some kind of push every single day, then probably recorded classes are not for you. You can also consider taking classes with some institutes which have recently started offering classes, but you need to do your research. Try and speak to their ex-students to take their feedback before you enroll in such classes. I won't take the name, but I enrolled in one of such institutes. But after 8 classes only, I realized that it wasn't for me because I felt that the pace was very slow and things that they were teaching at A2 level was something that I had already done before at A1 level. So you have to kind of do your research, and I decided to quit those classes after only 8 sessions, and I'm glad that I took that decision because after that I just started taking classes with a private tutor on italki. And although that was expensive, although it was very intensive, but it helped me to cover the grammar in just 4 months, and then I was able to move on to other things like exam specific preparation, right? So you need to consider all those factors, and before you join any institutes, please try and speak to people who have already taken classes with those institutes. Those are the people who can actually give you the right reviews. So I would not say that stay away from such institutes. You can definitely join their classes, but you have to do your research well. And the most efficient way according to me is to take private classes if that is something which is possible for you. And as I said, you have to consider factors like, are you able to spend more money because those classes are going to be a bit expensive? Do you have time to study every single day? Because after just 1 hour of class, you would have a lot of homework to do every day, and you will probably have to spend 3-4 hours additionally to do the homework. So you have to consider those factors. If you want my opinion, then I would say private classes are always the best. If you are a working professional, then only go for weekend classes. On weekends, you can take grammar classes, and during the week, you can try and do homework at your own pace. If you are not working at the moment and if you have more time on your plate, then probably take 3-4 classes per week if that is possible for you. And this advice is for people who want to clear the exam within a year. And I'm just giving you the advice based on my experience because this is exactly what I did and it worked out really well for me. If you can't take private classes, then I would say go for some renowned institutes like Alliance Française. You might have to slow down a bit If you take classes with Alliance Francaise, you may not be able to clear the exam in a year because their pace is slow, but I would still say it is much better than other institutes. Alright, now that we are done with grammar, the second most important thing according to me is you should write and speak from day one. I know it might sound scary, but trust me, you have to get out of your comfort zone from day one, and you have to embarrass yourself, you have to make mistakes, and that's how you learn a language. If you just focus on grammar, trust me, you are going to be very bored and you probably wouldn't want to pursue the language further. But when you start writing and speaking is actually when you will find this exercise, this whole exercise fun. When I say you have to write and speak from day one, you obviously won't be able to form whole sentences and write whole sentences. You have to start with words and all little verbs that you learn in French. So for instance, if you have learned any new word, write it down. It is not just going to help you with remembering the word, but it is also going to help you with the spelling, because in French spelling is very important, and if you get into the habit of writing from day one, it is going to be very helpful in the long term. Same goes for speaking. You have to speak from day one, you have to make mistakes, and that's how you're going to improve. So for both of these things, for writing, when you are learning grammar, you would anyway have a lot of opportunity to write small sentences or small paragraphs, but for speaking you need to have a teacher with whom you can practice speaking every single day, or maybe have a speaking partner. Find other fellow student who is also at your level or maybe slightly above your level, and if you can find somebody like that to practice your speaking every day, that is going to be very helpful. But my advice would be to find a teacher. That is best, because you can get right feedback on a regular basis, and that's how you're going to improve. So if you're already taking private classes with a teacher for grammar, you can work on speaking with the same teacher, but if you want, you can have a separate teacher also for speaking. In my case, I started taking speaking classes from day one. As I've said in many videos, I had a separate teacher for speaking and separate teacher for grammar, because my grammar teacher was specialized in the course that she had already designed for grammar specific classes. And in class also, generally we used to communicate in French only, so we were kind of working on French speaking as well. But with my French speaking teacher, we used to discuss daily topics in French. It was a very daunting experience for me as well. I could write sentences properly with no grammatical mistakes, but in speaking I used to make a lot of mistakes, and it took me many classes before I could get into the zone of speaking without any pressure. So it took me a lot of time, but I am glad that I didn't give up and I continued taking those classes regularly. So that is something which I would also suggest you to do if you really want to reach intermediate level in 6 months. That brings me to the third point, which is to have a good teacher who really cares about your goal, your objective. I know as a new language learner, it is difficult for us also to assess a new teacher, whether this is the right person to help us or not. So for that, I have created another video. I'm going to pin it somewhere here. You can watch that video. That is going to help you to understand how you should actually find the right teacher for you. So please make sure that you go and watch that video, because it is very important to have the right person to guide you through, especially when it comes to speaking and writing. My next suggestion is, once you are done with grammar classes for a couple of months, then you should also start reading in French. When I say read, you don't have to read the whole article. You can probably pick a very simple storybook also and just read one page per day, or maybe if it is difficult for you in the beginning, just read one paragraph per day. But get into the habit of reading every single day, because that is going to be extremely helpful to improve your vocabulary and verbs. Now that we have talked about reading, writing and speaking, we can't miss listening. Now listening is also something that you can start from day one. Pick a channel which is easy to follow, like Easy French. I know for beginners it is actually not easy, it is a bit difficult, but you can adjust the speed as per your level and maybe watch one video per week. You don't have to like watch one video per day, but just keep on listening to the same video, keep on watching the same video every day for a week, and then break it down sentence by sentence, take notes, make sure that you're also learning new vocabulary, new sentence structure, new verbs that you're coming across. This exercise is absolutely necessary because it is going to train your ears also to French, and whatever you learn from those videos, whatever you learn from what you are reading, you can apply those things in speaking and writing. And that is one thing which is absolutely necessary. Working on grammar is one thing, But apart from that, you have to start working on all these 4 aspects in parallel, which is reading, listening, writing and speaking, as soon as possible, because that is something which is going to take your French to another level, and that can help you to reach intermediate level in 6 months. So you can pick any topic of your choice, but just make sure that you work on all these aspects in parallel, and make mistakes, get out of your comfort zone, embarrass yourself in a class or maybe in front of a private tutor. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, because that is what you need if you want to improve. Now, while I'm talking about working on all these 4 aspects, I just can't miss French textbooks like Editon or Saison. You have to use one of these books. I've created a video on that as well. And you have to work on these books, because if you're not sure about which topic should I use to write, read, speak and listen to every single day, then these textbooks are going to help you to stay consistent. You can follow them chapter by chapter. You can watch my video to understand how you should actually follow these books. But you can only start following these books after 2 or 3 months into your French learning journey, because these books are 100% in French. And as a beginner, from day one, you can't start following these books, because it is going to be extremely difficult. You won't be able to understand a word. So spend some time on the language first, and then start using these books as well, which is going to enhance your vocabulary further. And last but not the least, consistency is more important than intensity. Please don't rush into things and study for 10 hours one day and then don't do anything for next 5 days and then come back to it the 6th day. It doesn't work like that. If you're studying for 2-3 hours per day, maintain that momentum. But someday if you're not able to study for 3 hours, at least study for half an hour or 1 hour, but make sure that you don't take any breaks, especially initially. Later on, once you cross intermediate level, you can still take some breaks, because it is very important to stay in that zone. Otherwise, you might miss that momentum. And also, you don't have to do intensive study just during the weekends, because during weekdays, if you don't do anything, if you don't stay in touch with the language at all, it is going to be extremely difficult to get back to the pace. If you do all of these things, my friend, I'm 100% sure that you are going to reach intermediate level in 6 months. And I wish you all the best for that. Please let me know in the comment section below if I've missed any point which you think could help others. I would really appreciate that. Alright, that's about it for today's video. I'll see you very soon. All the best. Bye.